Today I want to share with you 8 reasons why you should homeschool your kids. First of all, I don't want you to be clicking on this video just to argue with me. I do not think that everyone should homeschool their kids. I do think that more people than currently think about it or consider it maybe should homeschool their kids, but I do not think that homeschooling is for every single family. So I'm just going to put that out there at the very beginning. If you're coming and clicking on this video just to argue with me and say there's no way that I could homeschool or everyone should homeschool, I agree with you that not everyone should homeschool. This video is not for you. If you have no thoughts or desires to homeschool, don't worry about it. You don't need to watch this video. Who I am talking to are people who are looking into homeschooling, considering homeschooling, and wanting to know some reasons why homeschooling could be beneficial for them. Maybe you are thinking about homeschooling and you want to know some of the benefits of homeschooling. Maybe you are sold on homeschooling and you have a spouse or partner who is not entirely sold on it and they need to hear some of the benefits of homeschooling. That is who this video is for. Now, I know that this video is going to be most interesting to people who have not started homeschooling yet or are in the beginning phases of researching homeschooling. If you are not new to my channel, if you are a subscriber of mine, thank you so much for being here today. You're going to know a lot of these benefits and I would love for you to help out. If you could comment below what are some reasons why you love to homeschool and look for some questions that people considering homeschooling or new homeschoolers might have and help me answer some of those questions, I would so appreciate that. I am going to be doing some more videos in the next few months. I'm going to say specifically for new homeschooling families, for families who are considering homeschooling. I will be making my normal content, so don't leave or anything, but I do want to start making some more specifically targeted videos for people who are new to homeschooling or considering homeschooling, because it is really my desire to help people who are interested in homeschooling feel more comfortable with it and get their questions answered so that they might give homeschooling a try. Now, I am going to be making a follow-up video called Reasons Why You Should Not Homeschool, and I'm going to cover more of the things that maybe people should consider when they are considering homeschool and what challenges might come up as far as homeschooling in certain situations. I do think in most situations, if you really want to homeschool, there is going to be a way to do that. There are many different ways to homeschool, and it doesn't have to look a specific way. So if you really want to homeschool, I do think that in most cases, if there's a will, there is a way to do that. I'm also going to be making a video very shortly answering some questions that some new homeschoolers have asked me in Facebook groups. And so I'm going to be putting that video up as well as I'm going to be starting a series on how to homeschool or how to start homeschooling. So if you are in that category, you are researching homeschooling, you are considering it, you want to get started, and you don't know how to get started, do stick around, subscribe, like this video, and follow along with me. Now, first of all, before I get started, my name is Daveen, and I homeschool 4 kids ages 11, 11, 12, and 15, and I have been homeschooling them for 3.5 years. I was also homeschooled myself growing up, so I do know a bit about homeschooling before I started homeschooling my kids. I also didn't think I was going to homeschool my kids, so I think that's another video I'll probably be making, the reasons why I didn't want to homeschool. But let's get started on my 8 reasons why I think you should homeschool your kids. Now, I don't know if I have exactly 8 reasons. I feel like it's about 8, but there are some sub-reasons within each of these reasons. So I just tried to organize it a bit. So I have roughly 8 reasons why you should homeschool your kids, and I'm going to go through that. I have my notes down here. Stick around for the last reason. It is a common question for people considering homeschool. I think you'll find it interesting. So stick around to the end and let's get started. The first reason I want to talk about is because school, public school, private school, schools that are teaching a ton of kids is a one-size-fits-all model. Not every child is going to thrive in an environment like that. Now, you might have a student or a child who will do fine in a school setting. They are very good at being able to listen to instructions. They can sit and do what is asked of them without issue. They don't get overly distracted by their peers. You could have a child like that. I'm going to argue that even if you do have a child like that, they could also benefit from homeschooling. But children who are neurodivergent, or perhaps your child is developing at a different pace from a lot of their peers, they could really benefit from homeschooling. So let's talk about different types of students who fit in this category where school does not fit them. So one example might be a student who is developing a little bit slower than their peers in certain areas. Just because they're developing slower in one area, maybe they're excelling in another area. However, maybe they're really struggling in certain areas like learning to read, learning to write, being able to sit at a desk for long periods of time. That is just not how their brain is wired. They need to move, they need to be active, and they just need to go at a slower pace. As a homeschool parent, you can go at their pace. You can take breaks in between instruction. You can let them get out and run around some more. And it's really beneficial for them to be able to do that, as well as not create a negative experience for them involving learning and school. So if you have a child who struggles in an area, perhaps homeschooling them might be a good option for you. You can really target those areas where they need help, and you can really just go at their pace with the curriculum that suits them best. There are so many different types of curriculum for so many different types of kids, and when you are homeschooling, you have so many options on how you want to teach your child, and it's really amazing how a customized education like that can benefit kids who struggle. Another type of child who may not do well at school is maybe one that is acting out behaviorally. Now, often that is a result of either struggling academically or perhaps excelling and being bored at school. However, this child might be acting out in school because maybe negative peer influences, maybe they're bored, maybe they're struggling and they don't know how to ask for help. Maybe they just can't sit for long periods of time or have issues following directions. Maybe they get distracted easily and they're trying to do what they're supposed to do, but they're just always distracted. So when you homeschool your child, you can definitely control the environment a little bit better. I did have a child in school who was very distracted and very overstimulated by the school environment. And just being at home consistently, being able to eliminate a lot of the distractions that he was experiencing at school just created a better and safer learning environment for him. So perhaps your child just struggles to be in the place of school. So then the third reason your child might not do well at school or might not be thriving at school is because they are not on level, as in they are advanced in different areas. Now, school, they do have programs like, well, here they call it highly capable or some accelerated programs at times. However, those are often, in my experience, like a pull-out class once a week, or maybe they get some worksheets to do in their desk while they're done whatever other work is assigned. I did have a daughter in that situation when she was in school. The difference between that and then homeschooling your child, once again, is that you can completely customize what they're doing. So just because they're advanced in one area doesn't mean they're going to be advanced in all areas. So you can still customize that as well. If they are, let's say they excel at math, then they can just continue on at their own pace and they don't have to be sitting there in that fourth grade class learning how to divide when they're ready to do pre-algebra and advanced concepts. They can just continue on at the pace that they want to and not sit around and wait for the rest of the class to understand what's happening. This also will provide a much more encouraging learning environment for them. If they're not sitting around and being bored all day, they will have a more positive attitude towards learning because they're able to spend the extra time that they might be sitting around wasting in school because they finished the project and they're waiting for the rest of the class. Instead, they can be using that extra time to go and do projects on their own, pursue things that they are interested in, and just to be able to expand on what they know in the areas that they're very interested in. So that is a reason why you might want to consider homeschooling your child. So to go along with this, I'm going to say reason number 2. So that was a huge reason. Number 1 was huge, but reason number 2 would be you can give a very high quality of education as a homeschool parent. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people saying, how could you possibly do that? You might not be educated as a teacher. Maybe you don't have any advanced degrees. How can you give your child a high quality education? So I'm going to argue with you that you can give your child a high quality education because there are a few things. First of all, you have had your child in your home since they were born or for a very long time in some other instances. You know your child better than anyone else in the world. They may have teachers at school who get to know your child over the year, but they're not going to know your child as well as you do. So as a person who knows your child better than anyone else, you are going to be able to direct their education in a way that is best suited to them. You are going to know what they need, and you're going to be able to provide opportunities to meet those needs. Now, if you're homeschooling nowadays, it is very different from perhaps when I was homeschooled many, many years ago. There is a huge number of resources to help you homeschool your child. You are not just teaching what you know. Let's say you got through high school or you didn't get through high school and you're like, how can I teach my child what they need to know? You don't need to worry about that because there are so many resources out there to help you. Your job as the homeschooling parent is to be doing the research and finding those resources to help you. Now, homeschool curriculum in general is assuming that a parent, not a teacher, is teaching your child. So the curriculum will guide you along. Once you pick a curriculum, they will have teacher manuals, instruction manuals, they will have answer keys, and some even have like scripts that you read to your child. So you will have help along the way if you're homeschooling your child. It is not just whatever's in your brain that you're transferring on to your child. And that goes on all the way through high school. There are excellent resources out there, both on the internet, on YouTube. There's free programs, as well as other curriculum that you could look into to help you teach your child. I do understand if you feel like you are not capable of teaching your child, but I'm going to tell you that if you desire to teach your child, there are resources out for you, and you will be able to give your child a high quality education. Lots of people like to compare homeschooling to basically the poor man's way to get a private education, because you are going to be customizing your child's education to that child, and what better way to give them a high quality education. All right, reason number 3, more time to bond with your child. Now, in some instances, you might be a little bit scared to spend all day with your child. I understand. I was one of those parents. I was a little bit nervous, not a little bit nervous. I was very nervous about bringing my kids home to homeschool them. I didn't know what it would be like to spend all day with my kids. Now, it's a little bit different when you have children already who are younger and you choose to homeschool them and you just continue to keep them at home versus, let's say, you have been sending your kids to public school and then you suddenly decide to take them out of public school and then you're home with them all day. The transition there is a little bit different, I will admit. If you still have kids at home, it's probably not as big of a change. You're just going to continue to do what you've been doing with them, and you're just going to start adding little bits of school in there. If you are pulling kids out of public school, private school, and suddenly having them at home, it is a bit of a shift. However, having done this 3.5 years, I do not regret having more time with my children. One of the reasons I didn't put on here to homeschool is it can actually be less stressful because you are not having to get up at a certain time and rush your kids out the door. In general, maybe you have work situations that you might still have those time restrictions and things. However, in general, you are going to have less stressful mornings, less stressful evenings. You are not going to have to sit down and spend time doing homework that another teacher assigned with your kids. I mean, you will have to be doing schoolwork with them during the day, but it's just a little bit different when it's something that you have chosen for your child and you know that that child needs that versus someone else telling you that they need to complete this assignment that they gave to the whole class. So I feel like I went on a bit of a tangent, but you do have more time to bond with your children. You do have more time to share with your children your family values, what you think they need to know when they go out into the world. I just know that when my kids were in public school, I felt like I had very little time with them. And the times that I had with him were not always the most quality of times. They were often in the morning, very stressful times, trying to get them out the door. They were in the evening, sometimes stressful, sometimes not, depending on the expectations of that day. So, a lot more time spent bonding with your child. When your child is going through something, who is there to talk to them about it? It's going to be you, because they're home and they're dealing with these things while they're at home. So, you have much more opportunities to speak into their lives. Okay, so the next reason why you should homeschool your child is flexibility. I think this is one of the things that homeschool families really, really, really enjoy about homeschooling is the flexibility that homeschooling gives you. Your schedule is just freed up much more to be able to put the things that are important to you and your family into your schedule. Now, there are a lot of opportunities for homeschooling families, and it can be hard to pick and choose the right things and not overload yourself with opportunities. However, the flexibility of being the final person who says yes or no to what your family's doing and when, just more control over your schedule is amazing. Now, there are some situations where this flexibility makes homeschooling even more appealing. So, a few situations I can think of that I know people homeschool their kids, and one of the main reasons why they homeschool their kids is perhaps a mother or father in the home, they work odd hours. Maybe they go far away for work and they come back during the week. Or maybe they're working weekends and nights and they just don't get to see their children very often. If you homeschool, you can be homeschooling around any alternative work schedules that they may have. Another reason why people may homeschool is they are a traveling family, or they want to go traveling. They want to get an RV and they want to travel, or maybe they're nurses and they work in different cities for a few months at a time. So that would be another great reason to homeschool, to be able to continue your children's education while you're traveling or on the road. Another thing that homeschooling while you're traveling provides is stability for your children. Your children are not going from school to school, different teachers, different schedules, different environments all the time. They might be going to different environments. However, their school, their home life, and that can stay very consistent throughout. So kids who struggle with transitions and things changing, and your job maybe does not allow for a lot of stability in that way, homeschooling just brings kind of some of that stability with you. So, for example, families that work maybe for the military that have to be stationed in different places, instead of having 5, 6, 7, 8 schools that they went to while they were growing up, they can be homeschooled, and that part of their life has been stable. Another thing that is really beneficial as far as flexibility is maybe you have a child who is super into swimming or some sort of sport, or they like to act and maybe they're auditioning for things, or maybe they just have some hobbies that are just going to take up a lot of their time. That is a good reason to homeschool as well, because you can adjust their schedule to fit those activities. Maybe your child is in high school and they want to work a little bit extra, or they want to do an internship or something. You can adjust their school schedule to fit that work schedule or sports or whatever else that they are passionate about and interested in. So, going along with that, another reason to homeschool is more efficient learning. So, this comes in with when you are homeschooled, there are a lot less down periods, dead periods when you're supposed to be doing your work. There's not like assemblies and lining up and going out for lunch and recess and waiting for other students to finish this assignment and busy work that teachers have to give just to fill in all those gaps. Basically, your child has what they need and they can complete their work in a much shorter amount of time. So one of my children, she loves homeschooling for this reason. She loves it because she can be more efficient in getting her work done. So she can get her work done and then she can work on different projects. She loves to do arts and crafts. She loves to crochet. She's actually working for me a little bit in a business that I have. She's doing some graphic designing. And so basically she can have a little part-time job. She can get her work done and she can spend the extra time that she used to sit around waiting for everyone else to get done. She can use that extra time on things that she is interested in and things that she is passionate about. and she's at home, so it's much easier for her to go and pursue those things. So efficiency of learning is another reason why you should homeschool your kids. Another reason why you should homeschool your kids is the opportunity for some more non-traditional learning. So when you homeschool your kids, there are so many ways that you can homeschool your kids. You can use textbooks and workbooks, and you can do more of a school at home method. You can use a literature-based homeschool. So that is, you read a lot of really good books and they gain knowledge from that. You can go out in the outdoors and study all that you see around. You can go on field trips. Of course, they do that at public schools, but you can do as many field trips as you would like or are able to as a homeschool family. You can do travel schooling, and they can just learn as you are traveling. There are just so many ways that your child can be learning. It doesn't always have to be reading a textbook and answering questions from a textbook. You can incorporate what you want as far as like YouTube videos or printables that you find. There's just so many ways that you can create a very diverse learning environment for your child. And so they don't necessarily have to be educated in the traditional manner. This next reason is one that many people would say is one of their top reasons for homeschooling their children. And that is because they may not feel like the public school in their area is a safe environment for their child. Now, there may be various reasons for that. It could be that that child has a lot of negative influences at school. It could be that that child is being bullied and they don't feel like the administration is helping in that situation. It could be that there are drugs at school. So whatever the reason why these people feel like their public school is not safe, and that is a reason that many people homeschool. Another huge reason that people tend to homeschool is that they don't agree with what they are teaching in the public schools. Now, lots of people in their minds, they think about right away religious homeschooling. It's Christians who don't like what is being taught in public school. And yes, in some cases and in the past, that has been the case. However, I think more and more people are just not agreeing with the public school and the methods that they use to teach, whether it be Christians or people who want their children to have a secular education. I think it's just a matter of public school is just public school. They cannot please everyone. And so a lot of families choose to homeschool their kids because they do not like the way that public school is presenting information or perhaps dealing with situations at the school. Finally, reason 8, a reason why people might homeschool is because your child will be better socialized. Now, I know that's going to be funny because that is often the question, but what about socialization? How do children in homeschool socialize? How do they know what to do when they grow up? How are they able to interact with others when they're home all the time? Okay, so if you consider this, who is going to be better socialized? Is it going to be the child who is in a classroom with kids their same age for 12 years, 13 years of their life, roughly 8 hours a day, with one adult, 2 adults in the classroom, and then a bunch of kids the same age? Are they going to be learning life skills? Are they going to be learning how to get along with, how to talk to, how to interact with people of all ages? When you go out into the workforce, have you ever been in a situation where it's you and a bunch of people around the same age as you working in that situation? No. Usually there's going to be much wider age span. And so how do homeschoolers get better socialized? Okay, so there's a few reasons for that. And I'm going to say that homeschool parents do have to make an effort to make sure their children are socialized. It's not going to just happen sitting at home. So I am going to put up that disclaimer. However, parents who do really want to homeschool their children, they can find a lot of opportunities for their children to get socialized. So, examples of how homeschool kids can socialize. First of all, they're with their parents most of the day, all day, unless they're in some outside classes, which I'll talk about later. So they are seeing their parents at home. They're seeing their mother at home teaching, but also keeping up on whatever is in the home, paying bills, cooking dinners, planning meals, doing anything that needs to be done in the home. So that child is learning life skills just by watching the parent. Along with that, they're learning life skills because often as a homeschool family, you will need to involve your children in doing activities that help maintain the home. Otherwise, it's just going to fall apart. One parent cannot take care of everyone being at home and keep up on all that. So your child's going to be learning these skills. And then when the parent goes out, who's going to be with the parent when they go out? Most likely your children. So you're going grocery shopping, you're going out to the stores, you're buying groceries, you're talking to the person at the cash register, you're maybe taking the car in. The child is interacting with people throughout their day. And then maybe you go to a park day where they hang out with other kids who are all different ages. It's not necessarily just all the 10-year-olds hang out together. Maybe you are part of a homeschool co-op. So once again, it's usually multiple ages. There are multiple families that get together. So there's going to be babies, there's going to be older kids, and they all learn to be friends with each other and get along, even if they aren't exactly the same age. And then there's tons of opportunities for your child to socialize. My kids do some activities outside of the home. My girls go to dance, so twice a week they're at dance. My boys go to Taekwondo, so they're with people at Taekwondo. We are part of a church, so we go to church on Sundays. We are part of a homeschool co-op, so we see the same families very regularly. My kids go to 2 different youth groups. My kids are middle school and high school, so our social needs are, I think, a little bit higher than many families, but they go to 2 different youth groups, so they're interacting with different people there. We also go to some classes at the public school, so they also hang out with kids there. So there are a lot of opportunities to be social. And when you're at a public school, you're not actually supposed to be socializing most of the time. You're not supposed to be chatting with your neighbor while the teacher is talking. And sometimes that's actually a problem for some kids. They are socializing at the wrong time. So when are they actually socializing at public school? Well, they're hanging out all day with kids the same age. Then they go out to recess with kids the same age. They're eating lunch with kids the same age in general. And they spend a lot of their time with kids the same age. When are they going to have the opportunities to learn from others, from kids who are younger than them, from kids that are older than them, from other adults in their environment? So those are the 8 reasons I think that you should consider homeschooling your kids. If you are new to homeschooling or you're just researching homeschooling and you have more questions, I would love for you to join me in my Facebook group. I will link that below, as well as Instagram. And feel free to ask any questions in the comments below. I would love to answer them. I know that people who are already subscribed to me will be reading through those and they would be helpful in answering them as well. If you have been homeschooling for a while, I would love for you to put in the comments below why you guys homeschool. Is there anything I missed on this list? What are some reasons why you think more people should consider homeschooling? Thank you so much for coming today, and I hope to see you all in future videos. Bye, everyone.